But you know what? We live in a rough culture. I mean, although when you look at all the saints in the past, my goodness, they all suffered, it seems like, from the culture, right? Pretty much. And go ahead.
Go ahead, Bart. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking that there are so many distractions today. I mean, it's almost like we just have to go away almost like a hermit or I'm leading up to something, but I just feel like what are we supposed to do with these young ones that are coming up getting all of their formation from TikTok? I mean, what are we going to do?
I think, Barbara, and I've thought this for a long time, that we're at the most dangerous hinge point in the history of the world because now we actually have cardinals, for instance, Hallenbach out of Luxembourg, who's leading the Synod on Synodality, and Cardinal Marx, who are now saying for
Oh
the
yeah.
first time in the history of really the church that the act of homosexuality is not sin. So not only is the church saying this, but there's no rebukes from clergy, bishops, the Pope himself, and it's allowed to go on. So in October 2023, when this Synod of Synodality wraps up, you cannot think it's far-fetched that right now, with this collection of these questionnaires throughout the world in these synod meetings, that it's going to skew towards a point where should the church reevaluate our stance on homosexuality? Would God permit this act? I do believe, I do believe because in a certain sense, clergy has genuflected to the world with their silence
Yeah.
on all of this ideological warfare because they've become quiet for the most part. This cloud is just steamrolling towards what the church is doing right now. Hey, world, what do you have to say about the church? How can we help the church?
Yeah.
They're listening
Yeah.
to under catechized Catholics throughout the world.
Right.
So I there is reason for great trepidation and concern within the church. I don't think we've ever faced anything nearly like this in the history of our Catholic Church.
No. I don't know when it would have been. I really don't know when it would have been. Not that I'm an expert on church history, but I have never read anything like what we have going on right now, honestly. I mean, it is just, it's scary what's happening to, I
Well,
think.
Barbara, the history of the world, we always knew bishops, priests, we always knew sin was sin. This is the
Yeah,
first time
yeah,
ever we're saying sin. Like Magdalene, that was sin. Today we
yeah,
celebrate Magdalene. Like
yes,
we don't throw rocks, we throw a party for Magdalene.
yeah,
So everything has been flipped. Emotion has replaced reason. So we can go on and on and on, but the fact is now we've been told this is going to happen. Paul VI said it. He prophesied it after the rejection of so many clergy from Humanae Vitae. He
yeah,
prophesied today that there would be an acceptance of the transgender, of homosexuality, of
yeah,
contraception, all the way down the line. Well,
yeah,
we are here. But the tragedy, Barbara, is clergy, for the most part, by and large, they've genuflected to it. There is no prophetic voice. We do not have John the Baptist. I once asked my friend, Bishop Strickland, I asked, hey, Bishop Strickland, don't you sometimes get lonely? And he said in that very humble way that Bishop Strickland talks, he said, Kevin, sometimes I do look to my left and to my right, and I'm like, hey, where are my brethren?
Where is everyone? I know. And that's what you have to experience. I mean, look at Jesus. We can't expect to be treated any differently than he was. So, I mean, even his apostles left him, so at one point. So I just feel like, yeah, what's going on? I mean, but then I'd like to get to this other article because we know that God works in mysterious ways. I mean, that is a given, right? So when I read The Victim Who Vanished, because we're talking about priests, I had tears. I had tears, and I don't cry easy. I don't cry easy. I'm the oldest of 11 kids. You've seen everything. You've healed everything. You just don't cry easy, but it made me cry, and I want you to talk about this, and I want you to, until we can come up to this next break, I want you to start it from the beginning. It was almost like a little story a short time ago in the Maryland countryside. Take it from there, please.
Sure. Well, a priest, the humble folks say, bears a resemblance to Maximilian Kolbe, turned on the ignition of his old silver pickup and eased out of the parking lot out of St. Michael's Parish. He shifted into second gear and passed by a group of swollen-eyed parishioners standing by the Pennsylvania fieldstone Marian grotto he had built for them just a few weeks prior. The priest grinned behind his long white beard. He turned right and he drove past the neighbors' strutting peacocks, whose shrieks often interrupted his pre-dawn nocturnes. Father Martin Flum drove west until, poof, his high mileage truck and his faded Mary Land bumper sticker disappeared at a bend in the road. Father Flume has vanished. He will never be seen again. Those left standing in the parking lot, the same lot that he had just repaved for them a few days earlier, could finally cry. To most that day, it seemed a guillotine had split their soul. One half would hold memories, the other half was left to mourn. The parishioners' pinhole of consolation, though, was knowledge of Father Flume's destination. Their spiritual father, they knew, would soon begin to annihilate every level of comfort to spend the remainder of his life as a consecrated hermit, offering his life as a slave to Mary in her Fatima plea.
Oh, gosh. I could feel what they were feeling. To tell you the truth, I really felt it because my spiritual director of over 35 years died about 3 weeks ago. And it's like he vanished, right? I mean, I couldn't stand there and watch them because I mean, it was a beautiful funeral mass, the Norbertines. It was absolutely astonishingly beautiful. But they have this custom where they take the body, and he was one of the first to be buried in the brand new St. Michael's Abbey church. It looks like a cathedral. It's
Mm.
huge. It's beautiful. And all of a sudden I'm standing there with my kids and everybody, and I just looked, and they have this custom where they drop the body into the ground, and then each Norbertine shovels dirt onto the top of the coffin. I know that's probably just a custom and a good tradition, right? But it was way too hard for me to watch.
Mm.
But I know I can see how these people, and you're one of the people for Father Flume, right? You knew
I
him
am.
really well. And Krista, your wife, knew him really well, yes?
We were very close to him, yes, Barbara.
What a blessing. What a blessing.
I'm from a family of priests, and I think I can count among my priest friends maybe 2 or 3 dozen priest friends. I mean, friends that I'm close with. I
Yeah.
have never met a holier priest, and I had a holy uncle, Monsignor Tom Wells. I have never met a holier and more deliberate, sacrificial priest than Father Martin Flume. He was the slaughtered lamb. He knew it from the moment he was ordained, and all he ever did was one. All he ever did, really, at a certain degree, was I will suffer from 4 a.m. until midnight for you, my flock, because I have been called to be Christ, and Christ was a victim. So I am your victim. I assume a victimhood because I want to get every single one of you to heaven. So that was that still is his modus operandi to this day. And I guess we'll get into later of why he made the decision, because it was a radical decision to become a consecrated hermit.
Well, it is. I mean, we were talking about how the priests need to look up, and the bishops and everybody look up. And he's looking up, but from a cell, right? A hermitage that was 10 by, well, how big was it? Like 10 by
Well,
11 or 10 by 12 or something like that? The
it,
cell?
he built it. I think it's 13 by 16. Now,
Okay.
I'll never see him again. Nobody can visit him. He's other
That's
than
it.
well, he lives at a cloistered convent of very holy sisters. So he does some spiritual direction for them periodically, but every day for the remainder of his life, he has given over his life again as the victim, as a slaughtered lamb for these two things, Barbara, for these two things,
Yeah.
for the travailed church that is suffering now, and also for priests that have sinned. He wants to beg God to drop the hammer on him through no
Yeah.
comforts, no running water, no heat, no electricity, nothing. He wants to beg God through prayer and 4 hours of work every day. God, please take me, use me. Just heal your church and help these priests that have sort of forgotten their identity to become holy once again. Open their minds to see you. Let the scales drop.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why he's done this.